Well, congratulations, the main part of the bag is completely done. The only thing that's left is to add the strap and an edge just around the top. So for doing the strap, I'm going to show you a couple of techniques. My favorite one to do is to use some ribbon or some trim from a fabric store. Something like this that's kind of funky, has a nice, pretty pattern to it. And what I tend to do is do a bead of hot glue along the edge so that it doesn't unravel, and then I fold it in and secure that with a little hot glue, and then roll it over again with a little hot glue. So you're going to have this hard bit right here, but then you can open up your bag, and if I flip it over, sew it down an inch or so into the inside of the bag so that you don't see that end and you don't really have to worry about it unraveling. And then on the outside you have this really cool strap for it. Okay, so now we're going to crochet a strap directly on to the bag, meaning we're going to start on one side, keep going, and then join it on the other. What I tend to do is eyeball and mark first the halfway point on each of these two ends. So I fold the bag in half and I find a stitch that looks to be about the middle. I don't worry about counting it exactly, I just look to get something fairly close. And I'm just marking it. You can use a stitch marker, or here I'm just using a cut tiny little piece of yarn. And all I'm going to do, I'm not going to tie this tight, but I'm a little worried that it's going to come off, so I just very, very loosely tie it like that. On the other side, I do the same thing. I find about what I've decided is the side of the bag. I'll mark that stitch here. So again, I'll do a very loose little tie here, just so it doesn't, I don't pull it out. I have a habit of doing that. And then I kind of check it out, does it look good to me? Is it about halfway? Does it seem really off? These look pretty good. If anything, I think this one might be one too far that side, so I'm actually going to undo it and move it one over. And like I said, I just do this by what feels right and what looks about right. Well, so that seems a little bit better here. All right, now what I'm going to do is the yarn. I use any yarns I've got going on in the bag itself, anything else I can grab that's the same weight. Straps, I find, chew up a huge amount of yarn, well more than I ever anticipate they will, so I tend to underestimate. For the strap itself, what I'm actually going to do is sort of random lengths of any of the colors. So I'll do, one color for a while, maybe a short distance after that, really long. It tends to be when I get bored of working with one color, I switch to another. The more random it is, the more mixed up it is, I think the nicer it looks. So grab anything I've got going on here. The first color actually I'm going to do, I already pulled it aside, I'm going to go with the orange just to start. So pick either side. I've got the middle marked right here, but I don't want to do an odd number of stitches. In this instance, because of the size that I want, I usually prefer odd number of stitches. 3 though is just too small, and you're bouncing back and forth so much it really doesn't work. 5 though, once we add the edge, is way too big. So I'm going to go with 4 stitches, even number, so it means I'm not centered on the center point, but it tends to work out okay. So I'm going to do, since I can't be centered right on the one I marked, I'm going to do 2 before it and 1 after. So I'm going to go ahead and join my yarn here, 2 before. I'm going to go through both loops to attach it because I want to have as strong an attachment as I can. Now, unlike the other ones where I joined yarn with just that chain stitch and counted it as my first single crochet, here for the handle, I'm going to go ahead and do a single crochet in that same stitch. So I'm joining with that slip stitch and a single crochet. Now that I've joined it, I can get my stitch marker out of the way. So that's 1. I'm going to do 4 total. 2, 3, and 4. So that's the width of your strap. Chain 1 and flip your work to start the next row. So a couple of options for you here. You can go ahead and just do single crochet in both loops. It looks really nice and it works well. But I kind of like the texture we sort of have going on in the bag here, so I'm going to try instead to do back loop only on all the rounds after that first one that I attach, or rows I should say, after the first one I attach. So I'm going to do 4 single crochet in the back loop only. It gives it sort of this interesting texture that I think goes nicely with the bag, but you should feel free to do whichever one you're comfortable with. Make sure though you do 4 each row. Count them every once in a while. Chain 1, flip your work, and just keep going. So continue with the red until you feel like changing colors. I usually go until I get bored with a color, which does not take me long sometimes. If you can guess by the patterns I write, I like to switch things up as often as I can. So when you feel good with this color, go ahead and switch to another color. No rhyme or reason. What I would recommend, if you're worried about doing it, just pick a number of rows and say, okay, I'm going to do 7 rows of each color and keep it the same. I recommend though, and I enjoy, and I like the look better of just sort of doing random stretches. You know, I don't care how many rows it is. I go some distance with one color and go, yeah, I'm ready for another color, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So play with your colors. The one thing I will point out, the edge that I am going to do on the side of the top of the bag on both sides and each side of the strap is black. So though I do use black yarn in the strap in some of these sections, I don't do large sections of it. I just put it in every once in a while so that it goes with what we've done for the bag itself. So there is your strap. Go ahead, have some fun with it. Play with the colors, the lengths of the colors. Go ahead until you have the length you want, then stop and I'll join you back again and I'll show you how to attach it here and how to do the edge. Go wild! Hi, I'm back, and no, I haven't finished the strap just yet. In fact, I've only gotten a little bit past where I was the last time I was filming. I realized I was saying, you know, the best thing to do is to switch colors whenever you want, and I never explained how to do that. Now, I figure a lot of people watching this have joined yarn switch colors, so you don't need to see it, but in case there's somebody out there that does not know how to do it, other than the way we were adding new rows and rounds below, I just wanted to quickly show you. So I'm going to switch at the end of this row from the orange to this blue yarn here. So first up, just make sure you have the blue yarn ready to go. You want to go ahead and go to the end of the round, but not finish the very last stitch. So I'm going to do 3 full single crochet. 1, 2, 3. And in the last one, all I'm going to do is start the stitch and bring the first loop through. So when I have the last 2 hoops or loops on my hook. Well, I'm just not going to get this one right. I want to just do the first part of the stitch, so I have 2 loops on the hook. I'm then going to drop this orange yarn that I had been working with and grab the new yarn I want to use instead. And I'm just going to hold it here and use that to actually finish the stitch. So that the whole stitch is actually the orange, but the new part is going to be the blue. And then I do a chain, just like I would if I was continuing with the orange. And now, if you want, I'm going to give myself a little space here. I'm going to go ahead and cut that orange yarn. Give me a little bit there. Now, you got a couple of options. You can hold the stitch in here. In this instance, since I know I'm putting an edge on, all I'm going to do is sort of tie these 2 together just to secure it. You don't have to do this, but I just like having that extra little bit of security. And now I just continue on with the blue, like the orange never existed. So I come here, go with my back loops, 4 single crochet, and keep doing it. So again, you just want to switch in the last stitch. Halfway through the stitch, drop that yarn, grab the new one, and continue with that as if that was the only one you were ever using. So that's it for switching the yarn midway through the project. So just in case you didn't know how to do that, now you see it done. Have fun with the strap. Go ahead, change color lots and lots of times. And like I said, I will see you at a minute for you, quite a while for me, to attach this to the other side and to do the edge. Alright, so the strap is done. For the bag, you can see I just crocheted it. There's lots and lots of tails hanging out because I haven't dealt with all of those yet. Just sort of random little bits of color. Longer pieces, some shorter pieces. In terms of length, I ended up doing it approximately 51 inches. I was looking for something between 50 and 53 inches, and 51 was at a good place to stop right here where I had that little bit of lavender. So I wanted this to be a crossbody bag, so that's what I was looking for. Yeah, I used another bag I had just to gauge that the length was right for me, because like I said, I'm keeping this one. So now to attach it, you notice I've just finished the last round or row on the bag here. I'm going to go ahead and do the chain at the end so that I can start the next row, but that next row I'm going to use it to attach to the other side of the bag using just single crochets. So first off, make sure your tie is still here from when we found the 2 edges of the bag. Next, I want to make sure very carefully that I don't have this strap twisted up a bunch of times. I want it to be straight, so I'm just gonna go through here, pulling it straight, untwisting it as it goes to make sure I put this the correct way on the bag. Now the good news is if you end up doing it and there's a twist in it, you can stop it. So this should be here. If I attach it like this way, I can pull it out again. And there are no twists, so I'm good to go. Make sure I have plenty of yarn here. And it does get really messy with all of these tails still hanging on things, but I want to make sure that I attach it that way. So I'm going to bring the piece so it's laying on the outside, because if you look here, I ended a row with it on this side. So if I do them now, I have it pointing the right direction. If I had it on the other side, you can do one more row to get it here, or you could attach it from the other side, but I do prefer having it attached from the outside here. So just gonna pull this tight so I'm ready to go. Now to attach it. You see where I have my tie. Remember, this is 4 stitches, so I can't center it on that one. So I'm going to go 2 in front of it and just attach it stitch by stitch. So when I do this, what I want to do, get it here, I want to go through both loops on my piece, and then 2 stitches in front, both loops on the bag itself. And now complete my single crochet. Just like that. So through both here, through both here, and single crochet. This should just attach it nicely. And when I do the edge, should give it a little extra stability. Now I haven't untied that yet because when I'm done, I'm gonna check it. And if I don't think it's centered and I have to move it, I don't want to take that tie off, because then I'd have to find the middle piece again. So here's this one. Oh, and that one I split that. Let me fix that. Split the yarn right here. I want to make sure I get all of it. There we go. Let's do this last one one more time. Okay. So that should be it. I'm just going to pull this out so I have plenty of slack. You notice it's attached there. Once it's done, like I said, I check to make sure I haven't twisted the handle again, which I haven't, and then I check to see where it's hanging to see if it looks fairly centered and even to me, and it looks pretty good right here. I don't feel like I have too much on one side versus the other. So I'm good to go. So here, pull a little of this out. I'm going to go ahead and cut this yarn and fasten it off, and then move on to the edge. Cool. All right. So there it is attached. Now I get to add the final touch, which will also take care of all of these edge tails for me too. So next up, the black edge for both sides.